There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explain to the people.
Yeah.
Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause.
Poor Jimmy. True, it was a terrible night for women, children, and for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who cut his lawn.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible...
The side behind closed doors, they made a deal. And just when Jimmy Kimmel thought he was safe behind his late-night desk, boom, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld tag-teamed him, like it was WrestleMania for comedians. Add Trump's $500 million 0-cents lawsuit into Blender, and you got a cocktail of chaos, ego, and pure humiliation. What did Kimmel say that triggered a legal meltdown? Why are Rogan and Gutfeld roasting him like it's Thanksgiving? Get ready, because this is comedy karma on steroids.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction.
And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him, and guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
You know what? If I ever cry on TV, it'll be because Maroon 5 put out a new song. But that's it! You big...
Donald Trump filing a $500 million 0-cents lawsuit against Jimmy Kimmel is a legal equivalent of a drunk uncle flipping the Monopoly board because he landed on Boardwalk again. And watching Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld react, that's not commentary. It's a two-man comedy demolition derby aimed directly at Kimmel's ego, which shockingly is somehow larger than Trump's.
Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
It's a group of doofuses in flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We
Ask
did
him how
5x
many.
what he did.
Ask him. Yeah, you do bigger. Yeah.
You'd think after years of limping through awkward monologues and clapping like a malfunctioning seal every time he makes a joke that sounds like it was rejected from a cereal box, Jimmy Kimmel might have developed some self-awareness. But no. Instead, he pokes the bear. The orange bear with a gold-plated ego and a legal team high on caffeine and vengeance. Cue the lawsuit. $500 million. That's right. Jimmy's mouth just ran him into a situation where the damages are roughly the GDP of a small country. Maybe next time he'll limit his material to knock-knock jokes and those recycled Halloween candy segments no one asked for.
A review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less-than-average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed-up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous, blah, blah, blah.
Now, enter Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, both arriving at this Kimmel debacle with the precision of trained snipers and the energy of guys who just realized roasting Kimmel is more fun than debating flat earthers and writing dad jokes on Fox News.
Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on a show, and he goes, "Is that your real hair?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you mind if I mess it up?" So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing, and it was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, He went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized Donald Trump.
But the killer phrase was at the end when Kimmel said, "You just don't realize it." Because you see, he's smarter than you, and he needs you to know that. And his ego can't bear that there's someone out there more famous and more influential than him. I got news for you, Kimmel. The last time you mattered, Bruce Jenner still had a
Rogan took one look at the lawsuit and couldn't resist laughing louder than a hyena on ayahuasca. Because here's the thing. Watching Jimmy Kimmel try to navigate anything outside of cue cards is like watching a goldfish pilot a helicopter. And now he's somehow supposed to take on Trump's lawsuit like a brave warrior for free speech? Please. Kimmel's idea of bravery is insulting middle America from the safety of a Hollywood studio with a latte in one hand and his ratings slipping out the other.
Late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah. The creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing anymore.
You got Jimmy Fallon doing a song about different
and Greg Gutfeld. Let's just say he dove into this like it was a turkey leg at Thanksgiving and Jimmy Kimmel was the stuffing. Gutfeld, who already has a PhD in mocking self-righteous celebrities from the University of Fox, saw this lawsuit and basically rolled out a red carpet labeled, "Welcome to Clown Town, Jimmy." His takedown wasn't just personal. It was historic. Like roast you into a Netflix special level hits. Because here's the reality. Jimmy Kimmel has been cosplaying as America's conscience for the past few years while simultaneously acting like he invented satire. Every night, he emerges from his little desk like the moral Dalai Lama of late-night TV, lecturing viewers with the same energy as a substitute teacher trying to stay relevant. Meanwhile, his writers are scrambling behind the scenes like, "Quick, find a clip of Trump blinking weird. We'll build an entire segment around it." You'd think with that kind of formula, Kimmel's ratings would be bulletproof. But plot twist, they've been circling the drain faster than his punchlines. While the rest of late night tries to survive by at least pretending to be funny, Jimmy Kimmel has gone full smug, full preach, and fully lost the plot. And now, with Trump's lawsuit lighting up his inbox like a Christmas tree from hell, he's suddenly remembering the Constitution like it's his long-lost cousin.
The problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, "Your pronouns are ass and hole," which is pretty funny. But then,
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, "Please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns." So they were chiding him.
What makes this meltdown so delicious is how Joe Rogan and Gutfeld aren't even mad. They're entertained. Rogan's probably scheduling an entire podcast episode around this circus, complete with 10-minute detours into chimpanzee behavior and the pharmaceutical industry, all while circling back to, and Jimmy Kimmel still sucks. Meanwhile, Gutfeld just added another drawer labeled Kimmel material next to his AOC zingers, and things Brian Stelter said that sound like alien propaganda. Jimmy's entire late-night vibe is like that one guy at a party who waits until the music dies down to make a political point no one asked for. The one who brings up climate change right after the birthday cake. That's Kimmel. And now he's acting shocked that there are consequences when your comedy turns into a DNC press release wrapped in a teleprompter. Trump suing Kimmel might be over the top, but let's be honest, it's not like Jimmy was too busy saving comedy from itself. He's been busy turning monologues into therapy sessions, using punchlines like participation trophies, and turning every skit into a weird PSA for coastal elitism. The only thing Kimmel's managed to destroy lately is his own ability to land a laugh without a 5-minute pause for moral reflection.
It's him or a writer, can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and ha-ha's.
No, that's a good joke
but-
on top of a good joke.
Yeah.
And now with Trump's lawsuit hovering over him like a giant gold-plated anvil, he's pivoting. Suddenly he's a free speech warrior. Suddenly this is about comedy being under attack. This from the same guy who once tried to cancel half the country for laughing at the wrong meme. It's like watching a vegan argue over the last cheeseburger. Painfully ironic and somehow still exhausting. Meanwhile, Rogan and Gutfeld are tag-teaming this roast with surgical precision. Rogan's probably imagining Jimmy trying to lift a kettlebell-labeled constitutional law and dropping it on his foot. Gutfeld, meanwhile, is likely drawing Venn diagrams comparing Kimmel's career trajectory to a slow-motion dumpster fire sponsored by quinoa. What makes this also brutal is that it's not just a roast, it's the receipts, the real ones. Like the fact that Kimmel's ratings haven't been this low since before DVR existed. Or the way his interviews sound less like conversations and more like awkward HR trainings. Or how his jokes have the comedic punch of an off-brand fortune cookie. While Rogan has millions tuning in to hear conversations with neuroscientists, athletes, comedians, and possibly sentient AI, Kimmel is over there doing comedy necromancy, trying to resurrect punchlines from 2007 and pretending it's cutting-edge satire. There's a reason people skip his monologues like they skip Netflix interest.
Oh, I have a few names to add. CNN, MSNBC, CBS, The Town Crier. All outlets ignoring Biden's revolving door of gaps.
And don't forget how Rogan's audience spans the spectrum. Left, right, center, aliens, gym bros. It doesn't matter. People tune in because he talks like a real person and not a smug whiteboard in a blazer. Meanwhile, Kimmel's audience is mostly bitter tech execs and retired baristas clapping like seals trained on gluten-free granola. Gutfeld, for all his Fox News chaos energy, at least delivers jokes that sound like jokes and not recycled TED Talk summaries. And he doesn't pretend to be a moral compass while simultaneously laughing at himself. Something Kimmel seems physically allergic to. Self-deprecation? Please. Kimmel's ego comes wrapped in a TSA-proof layer of, do you know who I am? And let's not skip over the fact that the lawsuit itself was Trump's way of giving Kimmel what he always wanted, attention. The man couldn't even land a decent controversy before this. Now, he's at the center of a $500 million zero-cents lawsuit and still somehow losing the PR war. Because when Rogan and Gutfeld show up to roast you, you're not getting canceled. You're getting cryogenically humiliated. The lawsuit might be excessive, theatrical, even absurd, but that's not the point. The point is that Kimmel, who spent years building a brand on condescending chuckles and awkward political cheerleading, finally got what was coming. A mirror held up to his smug face by two guys who had made careers out of demolishing nonsense with a sledgehammer made of common sense and sarcasm.
Jamie, you often are depressed, miserable, lonely, suicidal. You generally think that there's no hope for you. So you might be the perfect person to come to for advice for these people who are currently looking for help. How do you get out of bed every morning knowing that life is worthless?
This makes it harder, this line of questioning. Listen, Greg, I have an opinion.
Yes.
And a joke, unless nobody laughs, and I have two opinions.
Okay.
You've pointed it out. They think we're stupid. Kimmel thinks he's smarter than everyone, and
Right.
and it just, that's exactly what he just said. And to just be full, I guess, transparency, when he was crying, they had just showed him his ratings.
And so what's even more embarrassing is how Kimmel's fans are pretending this is some free speech apocalypse. Like we're supposed to rally behind a guy who banned entire topics from his show if they didn't align with his worldview. The same guy who once tearfully lectured America on healthcare while dressed like he just got rejected from a Jimmy Fallon Halloween party. It's a little hard to take the high ground when you've been living in a swamp of self-importance for the last 5 years. You can't scream comedy is sacred after turning your entire show into a sanctimonious scroll of predictable punchlines and groan-worthy applause breaks. And now he's the victim. Now he's David to Trump's Goliath. Except in this version, David's holding a soy latte and whining about being sued on Twitter, while Trump's hurling a $500 million zero-cents rock shaped like an ego contest. What Joe Rogan and Gutfeld did wasn't just a roast. It was a public service. A much-needed audit of a man whose sense of relevance is as outdated as his haircut. They didn't just burn him. They delivered a comedic exorcism, evicting every trace of pretense left in that late-night studio. And we haven't even scratched the surface of how unfunny Kimmel's gotten. His last 10 segments could double as ambient noise. You'd find more edge in a kindergarten safety manual. He's like if tofu had a voice, and that voice was constantly saying, "Isn't Trump bad?" Yes, Jimmy, we know. You said it last week and the week before that, and every day since 2016.
We see is him. He once co-hosted The Man Show. Now he's sobbing like he just watched Steel Magnolias 3 days into his menstrual.
By the time Gutfeld finished, Jimmy's reputation was folded like laundry in a Marine boot camp. And Rogan, he probably laughed so hard he dislocated a rib somewhere. Even Letterman's beard was cringing in sympathy. But Kimmel? He'll survive. He always does. Wrapped in his blanket of self-importance. Surrounded by sycophantic writers who still think rhyming Trump with grump is the peak of satire. The man may have lost a comedy war, but he'll always have those Halloween candy skits, right? Unless, of course, those get sued next. And let's not pretend this ends with just a lawsuit. No, this is just Act 1 of the most unintentionally hilarious drama in late-night history. You can already hear the desperate tap-tap-tapping in Kimmel's writer room as they scramble to rebrand this disaster as some noble crusade. And the best part? Kimmel still thinks he's winning, that this is a grand stand for artistic integrity. As if late-night TV hasn't become the comedic graveyard of hot takes and corporate virtue signaling. There's more spontaneity in elevator music than in a Jimmy Kimmel monologue these days. The truth is, Kimmel walked into this cage match with a water pistol, while Rogan brought a flamethrower and Gutfeld showed up with a comedy nuke. And now we're all watching the ashes settle, wondering if Jimmy will ever learn that being insufferably smug is not the same as being funny. But don't worry, he's probably already prepping his next monologue from inside a courtroom.